One of my phrases is make it easy for people to follow the rules. And I understand that if we've got a trade going from one general contractor to another general contractor to another general contractor, you want it to be as consistent as possible, just so it's easy for them.
Welcome to the Canary Report, the podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operational executives come for real-world stories and smarter strategies to keep people safe. I'm your host, Michael Zhao. In each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are transforming how risk and safety are managed. Whether you're a leader of a nationwide EH&S program in a high-risk industry, or you champion workplace safety across 200 retail locations, this podcast is for you. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Canary Report, a podcast where risk leaders, safety professionals, and operational executives come for real-world stories and smarter strategies to keep people safe. I am your host, Michael Zhao, the CEO and founder of Yellowbird. Today, joining me is Kathryn Prus. She is the Environmental Health and Safety Director for Skanska, which is a Swedish company, and I actually said it correctly, out of Portland area, out of Oregon region. And Skanska is a very respected builder around the world. They are a leader in transforming safety cultures across the construction industry. And this is where I get to embarrass Kathryn a little bit and tell you all about why we want to listen to her today and thank her for being here. So she has had a remarkable journey that we will hear about at the company. She started as an administrative EHS role and has moved up throughout the organization over time, had many of the roles, and has moved up into a director level position, which I am excited to hear more about. She has worked through many different perspectives from a leadership and leadership development perspective. She's worked in the field, she's worked in the trailer, she's worked in the boardroom, she's built a culture that is second to none. And today she's shaping a new model of construction safety culture and is rooted in authenticity, which, knowing her as little as I do, I can already tell you I know where that comes from, and has a clear communication and smarter technology strategy to basically go well beyond compliance, which I think is always our goal. So thank you so much, Kathryn, for being here.
My pleasure.
So I guess before we start, because we're a human podcast and we are a human industry, at the end of the day, it is about the people, and the businesses are run by the people, and keeping them safe is all about a people world that we live in. Tell us about the person that's you. Tell us about your, where you came from. I imagine the 12-year-old you did not think she was going to be a director of safety for Skanska. So tell me about your younger journey.
Currently where I'm at, I'm a single mom of two kids, preteen and teen, 12 and 14. One has special needs. When we're not going through sports or school programs or anything with ABA therapy for my son, then we're out enjoying all that Oregon has to offer. So that might look like paddleboarding. It might look like hiking. The winter, it's rainy, so museums, or last week was ice skating. So that's a lot of what life looks like here and now.
And so you have a daughter who's 12 and a boy who's 14. Now, what are they into? You said sports. Is there anything in particular they're passionate about?
My daughter is into everything. She does everything from orchestra. She's playing the violin. She does guitar. She's been part of the chess club. She's in Battle of the Books, you name it. The girl is an overachiever like I am.
I love it. Well, she has a good role model. That's good. And I love that young ladies can see women like you, going through the journey and rising. And your boy, what is he into anything in particular?
He has a special focuses. He's on the spectrum for autism. And he really loves trains. He really loves maps, traveling. I'm a huge traveler myself, so that's really fun to see. But he's got an incredible memory. He, at 3.5, was drawing 22 international flags from memory on the window. He's just got an absolutely incredible memory. Very sweet also. He can make you feel like the most special person when you walk in the room. So. Oh,
that is fantastic. I as you know, and I speak openly about this, that I was born with a disability, and mine was physical, and so sometimes people, physical and or cognitive or otherwise, everybody has their superpower, and I'm very proud of you for acknowledging not only his difference, but also what makes him special. And I think it's a really wonderful thing. I do a lot of work with the autism community. And so um, offline, if you ever need any resources or anything I can help with, I'd love the opportunity to do that. So in your personal life outside of children, which I imagine there is not a lot of that, did you, what else are you into personally? Like you obviously the outdoors. Is there any other passions that you have just as a professional and or person at your stage of life?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm a huge traveler. I've been to multiple countries. That's definitely a passion of mine. I'm supposed to be going to actually Rwanda here in a couple of months with a local organization, and yeah, so I'm usually doing some kind of extreme sports of some kind. I've got that risk personality a little bit. Do it safely, but I did just go into a shark cage just about 2 months ago. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I will tell you. So it's a funny little thing on. I have the pleasure of meeting many wonderful leaders like yourself, and there is a through line, as crazy as it sounds, of adventurers.
Hmm.
I have last week or week and a half, I've had a drag racer that builds DIY 1,000 horsepower drag racing. A gentleman in his mid to late 50s who was a dirt bike rider. I'm into Broncos and Jeeps, and I like going off roading and enjoy that kind of thing. I've had skydivers, so I think there must be something about not avoidance of risk, but understanding risk. And maybe it gets you a little more comfortable with risk. I don't know. I'm very much an amateur psychologist. I have no training at all. So I
It's
will tell you
calculated
that,
risk. It's calculated
yeah,
risk.
yeah, but yeah, calculated
Yeah,
risk is part. I mean, as
yeah,
we say in our industry, there is no such thing as zero risk.
that's
It
right.
does not. Just wrap yourself in bubble wrap and stay home and don't have a job. But that ain't gonna cut it. That's not the world we live in, right? So, and where did you grow up? Like, where did you get older? At least I never grew up, so I shouldn't say that. Where did you get older? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm from San Diego originally. Lived there for a good part of my youth. Went to college in Florida and then did a short stint in Central California for my ex-spouse's job and have been in Portland for about 11 years now.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, you went from sun to hot and sunny in Central California because I'm actually from Southern California as well. So I imagine you were what Central Valley kind of a thing
It
when
was
you lived in
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. Yep. Yep.
It's
So
yeah, right next
hot
to
and
LA.
sunny. Yep. Yep. Right next to LA. And then you went to the exact opposite,
To
wet
the
and cold
rain. Yeah.
to the rain.
But it's
Well, that's
beautiful and
awesome.
green up here and lots
Yes.
of outdoor activities, so it's good.
Well, I live in Arizona, and there's many times that I miss the beautiful and green. I travel enough that I get to see it, but I do miss part of that. Uh, there's always something that you don't get wherever you are. If it rains a lot, you get a lot of beauty and green. If
Mhm.
it's dry and hot and it's beautiful, you hopefully are on a golf course that gets water because everything else is not green.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah. So tell me about Skanska, what you all do, what you do for the company, and let's just get a little overview of your journey. Both you've had an interesting ride; it's been some
Mhm.
time. So tell me about your journey and also what the company does specifically, or your area
Yeah.
of the company.
Yeah, so they're commercial construction here in Oregon. I'm the director over Oregon, so we're all across the United States. We do a lot of schools, airports, hospitals, things like that. We aren't limited to those, but those are some of the big projects that you'll see from us.
Got it. So is it long term? Like when you start a project, do you know that you're going to be on a site for the next 24 months, 36 months kind of a thing? Is it that kind of a program?
Yes, we do tenant improvement as well. So we might come in and do, at a hospital, just do a room here or there. But we also do everything from the groundwork all the way to all of the buildup and turnover. So it really just depends on the project.
And how many active projects in Oregon do you have running at any given time?
Usually about 12 to 13 ish, but again, that varies.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, it's especially considering you do TI work and some other stuff, I mean, I bet it varies daily, the number of actions. And you're the general contractor, and so do you outsource or use subcontractors for all of the labor components, or do you have an internal team on some of those that are staff for like groundwork or electricians or things like
Yeah.
that? Is it 100% subs, or do you have a mix?
We do actually have some self-perform as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what percentage in your area do you know? I mean, approximately, of course. I'm not going to ask you statistically, but is
I
it?
I can't give you exact numbers. Again, that can
Yeah,
vary
yeah,
greatly just
of course.
depending on the projects, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean, I'm sure also the load. If it's
Mhm.
self-perform, you only have so many resources. I mean, it's the reason why my company exists is that, there's surge demand and there's, things that are not ideally suited for the staff you have. And so it makes a lot of sense that I doubt anybody could have really answered the question now that I say it out loud. But thank you for graciously not saying that it's hard to figure out. That's why I should plan better on my questions instead of just off the hip, because you're like, dude, nobody knows that answer. Um,
I don't wanna give you a wrong one, so
No, no, no. And
yeah.
believe me, there's no gotchas on this podcast. I get all of the gotchas myself. Trust me, I'm wrong on more than I'm right. So, from a training perspective, what do you guys do? Like internally on your safety programs? You're working in highly regulated environments. You're fortunate to be only doing your state, so you can stick with your state requirements. But do you even have county differences for what's necessary? And we don't want to just meet minimums. I recognize that, but what do you do for trainings internally on safety trainings?
I mean, we do all your standard ones, your hazard communication, all of those. We have a lot of in-house instructors as well for certain things. Other things we might outsource. We do our toolbox talks weekly, sometimes daily, depending on what we're covering. So yeah, and then we try to engage and have a more collaborative environment with some of our trade partners as well. So with that, sometimes we will, if we notice we've got a lot of work at height coming up, for example, we got a lot of scissor lift activity, boom lift activity. That might mean that we go and hang somebody in a harness and say, let's time you while you try to use your trauma straps and see what happens. And then kind of watch as they fumble around, their tool belts and trying to get that zipper undone with their gloves and kind of talking through it in more of an interactive way. But yeah, so it again just kind of depends.
No, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. And, it's funny, this industry, that should probably be the theme of this conversation, because it's the hardest thing that we do in health and safety is it's so unstructured. The rules or the goals are structured, but is everybody speaking the same language? Actually the same language, not just on the same page, but English and Spanish and others. And, making sure people aren't giving you the thumbs up because they didn't understand a word that you were saying, but they actually give you a thumbs up because they understood it and they're good. It's amazing, as you say, fall from heights or scissor lift, or, and then you get contained space or underground and confined space, and all these various things. It's a whack-a-mole. I always say it keeps it exciting. It certainly keeps it exciting. So, from your internal team, how many folks do you have that report up to you?
Again, that can vary.
We're gonna have the caveat that everything that we talk about is very much varying.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
will
but
say I will try to stay away from strict numbers.
no, of course,
Just
no, no,
be
as you should,
yeah.
as you should. I mean,
Yeah.
if you said it was around 10 or around 5
It
or
could
around 30,
yeah,
it's fine. I'm not looking. We're not gonna have a test.
it's usually under around 15. But again,
Yeah.
that can go up a lot higher just depending on the work that's around. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, and a lot of contractors would be considered your employees when they're on the program, right? And so even on that side, to have surge demand for, you know, we've been brought on to do tool talks 2 days a week on a site for a year, where you show up for 2 hours, 2 days a week. Well, are they a staff member? No, but are they kind of part of your team after a while? Yeah. And so it's like, how do you count that person, right? It's like,
Absolutely, because you're right. There's the people that report directly to me for Skanska, but then our subcontractors, we could have 1,000 people on site, and you might be their go-to person for safety. So I mean, I've definitely spoken in front of 1,000 people on a site before, every single week. It definitely happens, and you become their safe space.
Yes. And that's a really, really good thing. So from a cultural perspective, what is you said you've talked to these folks, you do your tool talks, all this other stuff. What are the things that are kind of, you know, engaging, fun, easy way that you're learning to bring people into the safety culture that you are developing and continuing to evolve?
Yeah, and I think that can look different just depending on what you're doing, right? So, there's the big kind of overall stuff that you do with people, kind of like the trauma strap thing, right? There can also be ones where we were watching just some trending data. I'm like, some people might be missing. They're not identifying certain hazards, and we created a competition and had a hazard ID zone right in the middle of the job site. And we challenged people, teams of 4, to go in and try to find as many hazards as they could in 15 minutes. And went in, and I mean, the winner was a pizza party. It was pretty easy. But we had 60 plus people in there going in for 15 minutes at a time, specifically looking to try to identify hazards. And it was really interesting to see what trades were identifying certain things but completely missing the others. And then another trade would come in and they would get all of the other ones and then completely miss the one the other trade got.
Well, that's the thing. Were they identifying their own, or were they identifying the ones from other trades?
So we did a mock one. So we had it all in barricades and everything. But we had everything in there from like a caution sign on a red danger rope as they were walking in. We had damage to a rung up from a ladder. We had inspection forms that were missing things. So we had some plants in there, and then we put a couple of things in there, like a regular harness that was brand new. And so as they were looking for any kind of problem on that one, and it was actually just fine. So we did some things like that. But of course, that's one aspect of it. There's also the daily interactions where you're going up and you're talking to people and you're building up that trust, and waiting for them to come to you when they say, "Hey, I've got a challenge here. What do I do in this situation? I'm really struggling at finding a tie-off spot for right there. What do you think we should do?" And you can talk through the options with them and the different resources that are available to them. So there's those daily interactions, but then there's the little bit more structured stuff as well.
So interesting. I bet that was actually quite fun to set up.
Oh, it was. It was really fun to be the moderator.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And so from that perspective, were you finding, I know the whole thing was mock, but if you were bringing in people from the electrical and people from the heights and, welding side and all the other areas, were they more prone to see the things that they are involved in, or more prone to see the things that they're not involved in?
More prone to see the things that they were involved in. And it was actually great. After we ran the whole mock trial, or if you will, we had people coming up to us and saying, "Hey, can you keep it up for a while so we can pull some of our apprentices and bring them through there and just use it as a training thing?"
I actually wonder whether or not, by the way, I'm not asking you to do this with us, but I do wonder whether or not that would be an interesting offering that we could offer as Yellowbird, to go and put those together. I think it's quite an interesting concept. I mean, it really is, where, again, we've got, I don't know, coming on 7,000 safety, professionals across the country that would probably have a pretty good time putting those together and making it educational. And if you ever want to try and put a program together nationally, let me know, because I think I could probably help you do it. So
yeah, that'd be fun.
Again, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It just sounds like fun. It sounds like a costume party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, for nerds.
Yeah.
Not that I'm calling you a nerd, but a nerd for me.
I mean,
So
it's all right.
yeah. We're a little bit safety nerds. It's okay. Yeah. So I'm looking at my notes here. So without getting into anything that is proprietary and or would get you uncomfortable, are there any psychological safety things that you've been implementing or seeing any trends? I'm very involved, as we talked about, with not only the disability community, but also the I try to contribute to the construction suicide prevention teams and things like that. It's higher than most. The pressure that we're all under, the timelines are not easy, the turnover is high, all that stuff. Is there anything that you're seeing that is being either a concern or that is helpful that you've also started to see that's kind of a, maybe a little bit of shine of light in a dark subject of, it's not that dark because everybody has psychological challenges. There's nobody who gets away from this earth unscathed, but anything you can want to share with us?
I mean, that's definitely a big topic. I think anybody who's been to a safety conference in the last couple years has seen some version of a mental health on there. I know here in Oregon, we're part of the Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership as well. Nationally, we are all over. We've got what we call a green sticker program, where we're training people up on mental health and how to ask the right questions and be there for people. I know that here in Oregon, with that Construction Suicide Prevention Partnership, one of the things that not just us as a general contractor, but a lot of the general contractors here are getting involved with are doing monthly toolbox talks specifically on mental health. And that can talk about the effects of alcohol and the different ways that can affect your mental health. We work with Lines for Life a bit, and we've had them come in and do some presentations with our company as well. And talk about just the season. I mean, as you get closer to the holiday season, they get more calls. And so they've been talking a lot about just how that kind of stuff affects them. As you mentioned, there's a special hotline now specifically for construction workers to call into. So it's very similar to your 988 program, but it is more geared towards construction workers because of those long work hours, the changing schedules, just the unique challenges, how hard it can be on your body to be in construction for long periods of time. So we are seeing that become a bigger topic, and us as well as many other general contractors in the area, different trades as well, are all starting to get on board with that and really make it an emphasis and start having the conversations versus just kind of pushing it to the side and saying, out of sight, out of mind.
It's so important. And, it's human nature to avoid uncomfortableness, right? I mean, it's not comfortable, especially in a machismo industry, that, like I said, we all struggle in some way, shape, or form, both physically, which is not easier as you get older. It's funny because I mentioned that I'm working, I like off-road vehicles and stuff, and I'm actually working on restoring a Bronco 67, and crawling underneath it and getting up from that position is not as easy as it once was. And I'm like, dang, I am getting old. Like the next morning I'm feeling like, and it's not like I'm not lifting things. It's not hours and hours. It's an hour at night or something. And that's same with your emotions and your mind when you're fatigued and exhausted and stressed, and the holidays are challenging. On that same note of the holidays, not of the challenges of the holidays. So you said that you are taking your kids in their PJs and with hot chocolate to go see lights. That's one of the fun things you're going to be doing. And I love that tradition. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. You're in Portland or Portland thereabouts. And are you north or south or in the city? Where are you?
I'm about 20 minutes from the airport. So I'm pretty close. My office is downtown, my main office.
Awesome. Yeah. So when you go and do this little adventure, is there certain areas? I don't know Portland at all, but are there areas that are known for being super festive and fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a million different options out here. The one my kids are wanting to go to that they love going to every year is the Oregon Zoo Lights.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah. So we do that. But there's some other ones that are opening up. There's even one on a racetrack for those that like, the speedways. There's things like that as well.
How fun is that? Yeah, we do the zoo lights here in Phoenix. It's a lot of fun. We took the team a couple years ago, and it was a really good time. It's a great way to get a little bit of walk around, and assuming it's not raining. Is
you get
it a
used
car
to it
tour?
Here.
Yeah. You're like, if I didn't go outside, actually, my VP of finance is in Portland area, and he always says, if you are not willing to go outside in the rain, you got to move because it's raining. You just you don't melt. just go out and do what you do.
I
What?
was told when I first moved here that you can identify who is a native and who's not by whether or not they use an umbrella. So,
It's so true.
yeah.
It's so true. Same with New York. I funny enough, everybody thinks I forget. So I just don't bring it because I just don't have one with
Yeah.
me. But it's not, otherwise I would have actually been using one in New York last week. So, along the lines of the weather
Mhm.
and not on, from a safety perspective, do you find that you have more challenges with, slips and trips and falls or things associated with the moisture and the weather that you have to contend with that other people in other regions don't? And how has that been as you evolved?
Yeah, I mean, we usually can get ahead of it. We're really good at tracking the weather with our company. We've got all of the weather bug apps, so we can see when the lightning is rolling in, and it's got that spark technology. We've got wind alerts, so we're watching to see when there's going to be high wind gusts. There's a lot of stuff that we track. We also have one of our clients is at the airport, and we get special briefings to know what's coming up as well. But if we know that we're going to get some cold weather, usually we're looking to see if we can get some ice melt out there before we go up on the stair towers to a roof. We're roping it off down at the bottom. There's a lot of things that we do ahead of time when we know that the weather is coming. There is always a little bit of that ice hazard. If you've got ice on a roof and there's shade, that can stay ice until noon when everything else is melted off. So that is something that we're aware of and we watch and we just prepare really well for, honestly. So not to say that the hazard's never there, but we do a really good job at preparing for it.
That is awesome. And so one of the questions that I have along those lines is from a from a budgetary perspective, do they give you more time in your region for weather shutdowns and things like that when they're doing their budgetary, not just you, but the program, when they're planning for a, a timeline, is that something that comes into account? And I've never asked this question before, but
Yeah, they
obviously you're
do.
gonna have yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
have a higher number than most, right? I mean, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, I mean, we're pretty lucky here in the Pacific Northwest where, we might get a week of snow, but it can be fog, it can be other things, depending on what can affect a crane, for example. But they do put in potential weather delays when they're putting that into the schedule. And then, of course, there's going to be random things like, COVID. Nobody saw that one coming. or wildfires, or we hit some of those on one project all at once, and then you've got to figure out the schedule from there. But again, it's all a planning thing from there. You can account for some of it up front, and some of it life just surprises you, and then you move forward and pivot and go from there.
So when you on your other sides of your program, you've got training, you've got daily, and then you have surveys. Like there are annual inspections, rigging inspections. You mentioned cranes a few times, so I imagine it's a big area of concern and risk that you just want to make sure you're ahead of. So, are you responsible for the rigging inspections and that kind of thing as well in your department, or is that managed by a different group?
No, that's done by the trades. Again, if we have our own self-perform that might be doing that, then we are. But for the most part, it's our trades that are doing their own, and then we're just reviewing it and making sure they're good. So we review lift plans for cranes. We're looking to make sure everybody's certified and all the basics. But for the most part, we put that onto the trades because it's their stuff, and then we just review and make sure they're following the program.
Man, you guys run really. I've known that. I mean, there's a handful of just marquee, known for being fantastic organizations, and you're definitely with one of them in this country and around the world. But in this country and specifically, I won't mention the other names because I don't mention other names, but Skanska is definitely recognized as running great programs. So now, outside of what you do within your company, um, are you doing anything else are you part of a ASSP or NSC or any of these other things? And how involved are you in that stuff? And, you know, any exciting things coming along on that side of the world that's your professional groups?
Yeah, I'm a part of a lot of it as a director. I'm part of the ASSP. We have Safe Build Alliance here, which I've spoken at with one of our clients. We're part of an advisory board where OSHA will actually come in. Oregon OSHA will come and tell us what's going on.
Awesome.
There's the Construction Safety Summit. There's even a group of us general contractors in the Oregon region get together and all just talk about new initiatives or resources. And we come together in a collaborative effort. So just because everybody wants to see people go home safe. So yeah, I'm a part of a lot of them.
That's awesome. And you know what? It's funny you should say that, because I do find that one of the best things about this industry is you could be in competitive companies going on bids against each other and everything else. But in what we do, it's just one big happy family. Like you're looking for advice and you do not care where it comes from. And you don't have to be wearing a Yellowbird or a Skanska or any of the other names, as long as we're getting the help that we need to get everybody home. And frankly, get them through retirement without all the broken bones and aches and pains. That's the other thing people don't realize. Like, we're not just doing this for today. We're doing this for 10, 20, 30 years from now. That it's like, yeah, when you tripped and you say it was no big deal, and then all of a sudden you can't pick up your grandkids, maybe it was a bigger deal than you thought it was,
And I can only imagine. I mean, one of my phrases is make it easy for people to follow the rules, and I understand that if we've got a trade going from one general contractor to another general contractor to another general contractor, you want it to be as consistent as possible, just so it's easy for them. They're not like, oh, what does this company do? And what is this company's policy? If we can keep it semi-consistent across the region, then it just makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah, it's so funny you should say that. We're doing, and I won't mention their name, but we're doing fire assessments. We're doing fire surveys monthly at a very large distributor of goods, and hundreds of these distribution centers monthly. And if you can stay consistent and have the same person, or at least have the same rules and responsibilities, and make sure everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet going every month, it gets a lot easier to manage than having somebody literally going here and then that's different and that's different. It's like, imagine trying to be excellent at your job, going into a different place, not knowing what you're about to get, and then having to go somewhere else right after. It's like, that's rough. It's really rough. So, well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I am so appreciative that you, especially during the holidays, it's funny, we're talking about the holidays. This will come out after, but so I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas and whatever holidays that you celebrate, and your kids. Now, are your kids, you're right in the age of maybe not, do they still believe? Are they still
In
on
Santa?
trend? Yeah.
They've come they know that it's not anymore, but
Yeah. God.
they still play along
Yeah.
as much as they can.
Well, I just found out from my 16-year-old, who's my youngest. Yeah, well, I faked it for you, Dad, for about 2 more years than I knew before. I'm like, thank you. I didn't know that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, junior high has a way of making that one known.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately, that
yeah.
is very true. Very true. Well, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Thank you so much. And please thank your team and everybody for running a great organization. And if we can ever be of service at Yellowbird, please let me know. And I just wish you the best.
Will do. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
That's it for today's episode of the Canary Report. If this conversation helped you reframe how you think about risk and safety, please do me a favor. Hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who needs to hear it. We're building a new category of safety and risk leadership, one that's faster and smarter. Leaders who aren't just empowered by tech, but whose wisdom is accelerated by it. To learn more about how Yellowbird's cutting-edge platform is empowering leaders to solve workplace safety and risk challenges faster, smarter, and at scale, visit goyellowbird.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Yellowbird pages to stay up to date. Until next time, lead with clarity, know first, and act fast.